Most modern day machines don't struggle at all to edit 1080 video. However, some older machines could struggle to play back footage filmed in 1080. Similarly, most standard PCs, laptops would struggle to edit 4K footage. However, none of that really matters if you're using proxies. If you find throughout this course or in your future editing that certain file types, certain file sizes of video make your machine struggle, the playback is stuttery, or it just doesn't run as smooth as you'd like it to, this is when we can create proxies. What proxies do is they replace the footage that you're editing with a smaller file size so you can work with it. Then at the end of the editing process, you switch it back to the full size and then render out that full resolution large clip. Remember what I said about what rendering is. That's when we've finished our whole sequence, our whole edit, and we're exporting that final rendered video. So let's say that these videos here, these clips, your machine is struggling to play them back. How do we make these smaller so we can work with them? Well, it's quite simple. Select them all either by the marquee tool, or if it's just the odd one, click. If you need to select multiple ones, you can hold down Control and click, say it's 1, 4, and 7. That's how you would select multiple clips within the same bin. But for this exercise, we're going to select all of these. So to create the proxy that you're going to be working with, select all the clips, right click and navigate down to proxy. What you want to do here is create proxies. If you already had proxies made and it wasn't reading from them, that's when you would attach proxies. But first off, we're going to create the proxy. So if you click this, and now it's going to set a template to be able to export out what we need to create these proxies. So first, the source is what the source is. That's always going to be there. Format H.264. This is a simple MP4 format. It's nice and small. If you wanted to size it down even further, we could go to QuickTime. In fact, QuickTime is probably the easiest way to make a smaller file as possible while still being able to read it within your NLE, the non-linear editor, which is what Premiere Pro is. However, you will need a QuickTime plugin if you're working on a PC. So just to cover everybody, we're going to stay on a H.264 codec MP4. To drop down, we're just going to leave it at what it comes up with, low resolution proxy. That's fine for us. Destination, we don't need to add an ingest preset. No need for that. There are certain presets that you can get online, but I find that this default setup works perfectly to be able to get a file to a size that works well enough on a low power PC. Under destination, we can select either next to original media in a proxy folder or on a separate folder. This is where I have my scratch files where we were looking at before. Here, I think it's absolutely perfect to put it right next to the original media in a proxy folder. I'm going to bring over the other window right now and show you exactly where that will default. I don't have to tell it where to go because it knows where the original footage is. So what it's actually going to do, it's going to put it, remember we moved everything into this B-roll folder, it's going to actually create a folder within B-roll which says proxy or proxies. Let's press OK, and it's now going to create all the proxy jobs. Now, not only does it do that, but what it also does is it opens them immediately in Encoder. Remember the second program that I told you that we downloaded along with Premiere Pro? It's automatically opened it and automatically encoding them, re-encoding them as proxies. It doesn't do it within Premiere Pro. It offloads all the work. And in that short space of time, we now have all of those videos all created with proxies. And if we toggle over, that's where it is. So if we come back out again, it's in the video folder under B-roll, which is where we put it, and then it's created a proxies folder and has placed them all in there. Now let's just see the file size of the first one. I have made these quite small, so to make it easy for you to download and it's easier for us to deliver it to you. But it was originally 8.21 megabytes. In all honesty, I won't be surprised if it's actually made them even bigger. It has 12.4 megabytes. You see, the footage that I've supplied you is as good as it can be with how compressed it could be to get it to you. But even the low resolution setting has made the proxies even bigger than the originals. That's not normally the case, especially when you're using 4K footage. It can really, the 4K footage, 10 minutes of 4K footage can easily be 3, 4, 5 gigabytes worth of data. So that's how you do your proxies. So automatically that file is linked with that file, pizza oven 1 append proxy. So how do we know what's being used when we're in the timeline? Granted, we're not in the timeline yet, but that's where this little row of buttons comes in. Remember, we're actually addressing certain things when we can as we come along them. This is when we need to look at this button setup, and I'm going to briefly show you now, and then on the next section we're going to take a deep dive into this area here, because there are so many things you can add to here which are really useful, and so many things that are already in here by default that you really don't need. So there is nothing here with regards to your proxies. What we need to do is we need to press this button here, which actually says, I don't think you can see it because it's off my screen, but it says button editor. If you single click that, you now have a load of buttons that you can drop down into here. In here is also all of the buttons that are down here as well, plus loads of others, including this one, which is to toggle proxies. We're going to drag that down to here and let go. That's now placed it within this area of buttons, and then press OK, and that's saved. It's grayed out now because there's nothing in the timeline, but right here is how we're going to toggle the proxies on and off. That's what we're going to do next. Play with this area right here.